Okay, let's see.
Okay, we are live.
We think.
We have
It
one
says-
person.
Now, where's the chat? Let's see. We're trying to figure this out, you guys.
This is our first live video.
We did a long
We have
time
one
ago.
person in here. Oh,
We did a drawing one time. All messages. Okay,
oh,
here.
Mary's here. Hey, Mary, thank you for participating. We're just trying to figure this out. Okay, great. So we don't know. Oh, Sandra Wilkinson's here.
Hey, Sandy. Oh, good. There's some people joining us.
She says, hello, ladies.
So we'll wait for a couple more minutes to see if anybody else shows up, and then we won't.
Then we'll just start the video.
Yeah. It looks like.
G is going to bind this cute little Mickey quilt.
It looks like the messages don't stay up there either,
Right.
huh? Should we put the iPad on? No.
No, we're not going to have a bunch of
Okay.
talking.
Okay.
We're going to be binding the quilt, and
Okay.
they can hear
How
you
many
talking.
people?
There's 3 people.
Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and get started. I don't want to do about, 10, 15 minutes of waiting. So what we do is we start off with a 2-inch strip for our binding, and it's double folded. So you fold it in half and then fold the each side to the middle, and then again. And that is the way we use our binding. I normally bind my quilts. I normally serge the ends of my quilts, but my serger is on the blank. One of them's been broken and one of them's just not sewing right. So, also this panel, they're never cut right. They're never printed straight and stuff. So I measured from this edge out, and so to try to get it square. So that's why that selvage is showing, but it'll be covered up with the binding. So I like
The
this.
paddle she's going to use.
Yeah, I'll show that in a minute when I get them out. This is the binding, and all I need to do is make sure while I'm binding that this quilt stays in the center of this binding. And then my stitch that I'm going to show you is going to take up and make sure it covers the front and back at the same time. Now, when I first do my binding, I put it on here, and I don't attach this top, the about 6-7 inches worth, because it needs to be left undone. That way, when we join it, it's already ready for joining. So I'm gonna just clip this and then leave it be. And that'll give me enough of a tail to be able to maneuver to sew the ends together.
Put your light on your machine.
So, right here on my Janome M7, I selected stitch number 20 under this scrolly quilt thing. And I changed my settings to 2.8 and a width of 9.0. And this ensures that both the front and the back gets covered at the same time. So, I'm gonna go ahead and stick this in here. And I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the bottom thread. So I'll line this with the edge of my binding, and I'm gonna push needle down and needle back up, and I'm going to pull to get my bottom thread up, which is bottom line. And I like to put my threads underneath, but I'm going to needle back down, and then I'm going to just keep these threads out of my way. And now I can get started, but I'm going to just line this up, and I normally just hold my finger here and I will quilt, or here, however, I will quilt down to my fingers that I know I have already straightened and made sure the quilt is inside the binding. And then I'm going to take my quilting paddle. These are available on classycreations.com, and I use them for my binding to help maneuver the quilt through the machine without having to struggle. So that's going to be, if you've never seen these being used for binding before, you're in for a treat. And speaking of that, you can use the code TWINS15 on classycreations.com for a 15% discount on these paddles.
They
So
come 2 in a pack.
yeah, so you would normally quilt with them, you know, like this, but I use one and I turn it to the straight edge side to assist me in binding my quilt. So now let's get started. I'm just going to, I'm following the edge of my foot on the edge of the binding. And when I get to where my finger is holding it, I'm going to rearrange. All I have to worry about is this part of my quilt. I don't care about everything that's here. I usually make a little hump, a little hill, a bump, whatever you want to call it, and a pile. And I also put my tag in here. So when I'm coming down to there, I just got to make sure that my tag hasn't flipped up, and it'll get sandwiched in there very nicely.
And for those of you who are using the M7, she's using the VD foot.
Yes, and it is an extra purchase for your Janome machines, but I love this foot. It's exactly the right size that I need. It's not big and clunky, and I just keep the right-hand side of my foot along the right-hand side of my binding, and it works perfectly.
Thank you, Mary, for typing that code in for us.
How many people we have on here?
7.
So I do about probably 6-7 inches or so, and then I just make sure that I'm rearranging and making sure everything's nice, and then I'm gonna just keep binding. And I'll stop and show you right now the back of the binding and show you that it is stitching both sides at the same time.
It's catching, yep. And this is what it looks like on the front. She used a black Magnifico
Yes.
on the front, on the top, and then bottom line on the bottom.
Bottom line silver.
Sandra Wilkinson said paddles are great for helping move the quilt easier on the hands.
Yes, and your shoulders and everything else. So I just make sure that I stitch up to where I know that I have arranged, and then I just rearrange and make sure that my quilt is in there. I will say that I am used to having this serged, and it just makes sure everything is smashed down good, but it works even if you don't have a serger. You could also zigzag the edges to help you out too. And when I come down, when I'm getting close to here, I know how this stitch is formed. So I will push when this stitch is coming down here, and I'll push it, and then it'll end right here. So
She's talking about pushing this button.
I'll push the stop button, the stay stitch, and it'll finish the stitch that it's currently forming, and then it'll stop. So this is what I do. I'll hold it like this, and now I'm gonna push, and I'll show you how close I got, and even if it's not, okay, so I'm like a 1/4 inch away, and that's fine too. I like to end it right at the end of the quilt, but either way is fine. Even if you go past it a little bit, you'll still be able to form your corner. Can you see people talking and stuff? No?
The messages come up and then they go away.
Huh. So here's what we're looking at right now. All right. So because I used my scissor button, Shao, you can sew. It's fine.
I need to change thread and stuff.
Oh, okay. I'm going to clip off these 2 threads that happen when you use your scissor button. And now I'm going to position this quilt so that it's coming straight down from here, looking at me. And I'm going to place my thumb here and my thumb inside of my binding. And I will bring this middle of the binding down onto the quilt. And then I'll walk myself up. And then I get a nicely mitered corner with that. Okay. So, and I'll bring this down through here, and I will clip it just to hold it in place real quick. Where is my hump jumper? Let me see. I know that I was looking for it last time I was sewing, and I don't know what I've done with it.
I can get mine if you want.
Yeah, because I just don't know what happened to mine.
Hold
It's
this.
probably behind my
Remember
machine.
to give a thumbs up, Mary.
Oh, thank you, Mary. Yes, if you could like and make sure you're subscribed and all that, that would be great. And here's my hump jumper that Sherry gave me until I can find mine. And what this does is it makes your foot level. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in my quilt here.
In your machine.
In my machine. I'm gonna drop my needle down in this corner right here. Where it comes down, I wanna drop my needle right there. Okay, and then I'll pull my thread through. Let's see, get that right there. I'm gonna needle down and needle back up. And I'm gonna pull that bottom thread through, and if I don't see it popping up, I can reach underneath here with my hemostats and pull that bottom thread up. Okay, so now I'm gonna needle back down, and these threads, I'm gonna hold them with my paddles so they don't get in my way. And then I will stick this hump jumper in the back there so it'll make my foot level when it's going over this little bit of a hump I've got here. It's not that drastic of a hump, but as you can see, I'm pulling my threads and holding them with my paddle so they don't get in my way. I'm just making sure that my quilt is in, you know, sandwiched in here good. And now I could just start going. The hump jumper jumps out, and that's fine. And then I can just keep going down through here. And when I get to my finger, I'll stop and rearrange. As you can see, my quilt looks like this right now, but I'm only worried about it now because it's not straight where I'm getting ready to go and put this binding on. So I will rearrange this, put this in my lap a little bit, grab this, and just make sure that what I'm quilting on here is straight and that nothing has flipped up underneath here.
While you're stopped, why don't you tell them about the lever in the back that sometimes gets out of place, and I'll show it in the back of the machine.
Okay. So
When you use your hump jumper and stuff, sometimes this happens.
right here, there is a hook. And that was the cup. That's the cup moving across the.
Now I'm trying to see if I can see where you're. Yeah.
So this silver part right here, sometime it'll become disengaged. And so you'll have to push it back in after it's gone over a hump. But this time it didn't pop out. And you can be able to tell if it's not engaged because it won't advance as easily.
It'll feel different.
Yeah. So as you can see, you can hold your paddle in many different ways. Depending on my mood or what I'm doing, I will hold it differently. This nice knob fits where you can just put your whole hand on it and just guide it like that. Sometimes I even just guide it right like this. So it's not, you don't have to do much pushing with this.
And talk about the material on the bottom. It makes it stay.
Oh, yeah. So this grips your fabric and it allows, you know, everything to just stay on the bottom of your paddle to push through. I guess Chewy's trying to get in on the action. He won't leave me alone. Get out. He's underneath me. So I normally don't have to use clips because I'm only doing a little section at a time. But if you feel comfortable, if you don't feel comfortable doing that, you can make a clip and this, you know, it'll hold it for you. So where I put that clip was where I had already checked and made sure my binding was sandwiched in there good. But I'm coming up to my hand here, so I'm gonna, and my paddle was clear back here. So now I'm gonna rearrange. And I'm just making sure this is straight in here. I can feel that nothing has, this is folded, but it's not folded all the way underneath here. So I've got a nice straight flat surface here.
You got a stray thread there.
Yeah.
It's shining really bright in the camera.
Okay.
Here, while you're stopped, I'll show the corner that we just did. This is the corner we just did. See how it's mitered? It's very good.
Okay. I didn't even look at it, so I'm glad it was good. This method that I have of binding really is kind of foolproof.
Time saving. Oh my gosh.
So yeah, you can bind both sides of your quilt at the same time. Of course, you're not going to put this in a quilt show with binding like this because I think the judges wouldn't know what to say about it. But if you're someone that wants to finish quilts, guess what? It works great. They stay on forever.
You can watch it a gazillion times because I've done it. It's the best binding method that we've come up with.
Yeah. There's lots of stray threads here. So, it's the same thing over and over, but, you know, the more you do it, the better you get at the corners. And there's several ways to do the corners, but I like to pull my bottom thread up and do it like that, the way I showed you. So I'm rearranging, making sure that I've got the edge of my quilt into the crease of this binding here. And I'm going to come down here. I'm holding my paddle so it can keep pushing the quilt through there. And holding the edge of my binding, and then I'm gonna push stop right now and have it end. If you push it when it's on the right, it'll finish on the left, and because it completes the stitch.
And then she just used her scissor button so that
Yeah.
she'll have these two threads in the back. Let me see if I can get that.
Two
Yeah,
threads
see those
sticking
two little
up.
threads?
So you want to cut those off. They'll be hidden anyway, but just don't cut your knot off. And then we're gonna arrange the quilt again. So she'll show you how I'm kind of arranging it again. I always want to look at my corner like this so I can manipulate the fabric, the binding into making the corner. So I'm gonna hold it with my thumb here at the edge of my quilt. I'm gonna put my thumbnail in the spine of this binding, okay, the inside crease. I'm gonna make it join with the quilt. I'll squeeze it and then walk my hand up like this, and the corner just forms. It's a miracle. So I'm gonna put my quilt in here, and I'm gonna
Drop the needle. Corner.
I don't know why I can't find my words
Yes.
today. And needle back up, and then I'm gonna pull and get my bottom thread to come up. Grab it.
Meanwhile, you're not moving your quilt at all.
Yeah, you're
in the
keeping it
same
really
spot.
steady in the same spot. I'm gonna push my needle down right here. Push the needle back down, and now it's secure. So I'll pull these strings to the side here. I'm gonna move this. I'm gonna have my paddle hold my strings for me. I'll pull them tight here, put my paddle on there, and then my paddle won't allow those strings to get caught up in anything. And then I'll just,
The hump jumper.
well, and this time I didn't want to use the hump jumper and show them that sometimes you just don't need it. And we did it just fine, and my machine did not come
Disengaged.
yeah, become,
That's the
the biggest part.
If you don't use the hump jumper, your
It'll make
lever
that,
become
yeah, that,
disengaged.
yeah. So this time I didn't use it, and you see it worked out just fine. But actually I was trying to see if it would become disengaged so we could show it on film, but you know, because we're live, it didn't want to do it, which I'm glad, because you know, it shouldn't do that.
You can feel it when it happens. It won't grab the quilt as well.
You feel it, you hear it. So I'm just rearranging so that I just want to make sure that I'm nice here, nothing's flipped under. Rearrange my binding again, or arrange it, and hold it, and let's go for it again. Basically, I go until my paddle is up, starting to pass my foot up, and then that's when it becomes uncomfortable, and you shouldn't be stretching and being uncomfortable. So basically my finger and my paddle are coming to the end of this foot, so I'll stop, and I like to stop with the needle down, and my foot lifts up, and I'm able to arrange my binding again. So I'm just opening it up, making sure the quilt is in the center. I'll smooth it out. I got it down to about here.
Your foot is staying down. You don't have the button pushed. It stays down, it don't lift up.
Oh, I didn't push it. Okay. Well, this button right here, if you push that, it lifts your foot up every time you stop. But more importantly, you need the needle to stay in your quilt. So you can do it either way. Just make sure that your needle is staying in.
See, and that's where the binding
That's where the binding was joined, but it doesn't have any problem with that. So I'm gonna, since I'm in a bad position again, I'll just rearrange. And
she's just draping her binding across her shoulder like
Yep.
that.
I just get it out of the way. So, and when you're doing this, you're just making sure that that quilt stays in the middle of that binding. You know. So it's pretty daggone easy with the binding that is the 2-inch double fold.
It goes down to 1/2 inch.
Yeah, and this foot fits it perfectly. And the stitch, when you lengthen it the way I did with my settings, it's just the perfect
There's
combination.
the settings again.
Yeah. So one thing for sure, you don't want your quilt to be pulling. So that really, the paddle really helps you push it through. And then, you know, just make sure that you don't have it pulling and dragging off the end of your, you know, near your belly and stuff. You don't want it pulling. You don't want it taut. That's why if you roll the quilts, I don't believe in doing that because, I probably should have kept my foot staying down. This is moving on me. I'll keep my foot down when I stop because this pulled a little bit. Hold on a second. So what had happened was my binding kind of wasn't meeting the edge, and I could feel it, that it shifted. I'm coming all the way down here to the bottom, and I'm gonna clip it, but I'm gonna just make sure what I'm doing with my hand is I'm pushing and making sure that I feel my binding is closed on both sides. You know, it's sandwiching that quilt in there. Okay.
It's the creases on the spine. It's like a spine.
Yeah. So does anyone have any questions? Are we having any talking going on? Let's see.
The messages come up, but they go away. But there's been nothing that I've noticed.
Okay. So, if you have any questions,
Leave
You
them in the
can-
comments below.
and please, if any part of this video you liked, that helped you, that you learned something, please give it a like and give us some comments so we can try to get our videos more visible to people.
And we can figure out how YouTube Live works.
Yeah.
We're just in the beginning.
Stages.
Yeah.
So we're going to come down through here, and I'm going to stop when I'm on the right hand side so it finishes the stitch, and it'll stay stitched right
you
here
just
to
be
the left.
pushing that
I'll be
stop
pushing
button.
this stop button when it's to the right when I get closer. So I'm going to push it now, and then it stops the next time it goes left. I'm going to push my scissor button, pull it out, snip my two little threads. Okay. And I'm going to turn this so it's looking at me. Now remember, this is a little bit of the selvage that's showing, but it's going to get caught in the binding, so I'm not worried about it. So I'm going to put my thumb in here, put my thumb in the other side, pull it down to meet the quilt, walk my fingers up. And if you don't like the way it's formed, then you can form it again before you commit to it. Okay? So, gonna put this in here again. Gonna try to drop my needle right in that corner. So needle down. You want to watch the button. So needle down, needle up, and all the while I'm holding this quilt really still. I'm gonna pull this to where I can feel the bottom thread trying to come up. And if it doesn't come up where you can see it, take your hemostats and grab it. Push needle down again. And now your thread, you want to leave your thread tails long enough to bury at the end of this. You'll have, actually, you'll have the four corners to bury and then your beginning stitches to bury. So
then you're just going to put these two threads together and let your paddle hold it out of the way.
yeah, so like that. And
Use your hump jumper this time.
we can. This is not really that thick, so just to show people how to use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have mine marked with arrows because this is the thicker side. There's two thicknesses. This is thinner and this is thicker. And so the thicker your hump is gonna be, that's the side you wanna use. I just always use this side. And then you can push your foot to go down onto it and then glide right down onto your binding. So here we go. So there, it spit that out. And then I'm gonna stop and rearrange and get that hump jumper out of the way if it didn't go
Sometimes
out
it
of the
goes
way.
flying,
Sometimes
and sometimes it stays
yeah.
pretty close.
Yeah. So I'm gonna rearrange here. So there again, I'm only worried about what is right here. I'm not worried about all this. Doesn't matter if you have, a lot of room to your side. Just bunch your stuff up and just make sure nothing is underneath this area right here. That's the most important thing I'm checking the whole time, is if my quilt is in the center here, and if
If
nothing's
gotten
gotten,
up.
yes. As you see, for one, I don't know how my toggle switch got down, but I like to sew on the fastest stitch too. It might have. I just looked up and noticed. So it goes pretty fast. And a lot of people have a lot of quilts that they haven't finished because they can't stand to do the binding, because they think that it has to be hand sewn on. And then there's a bunch of quilts sitting around not finished because people hate doing binding. So I really hope that this encourages you to bind those quilts that's been sitting for years waiting to get bound or binded, whatever is the correct terminology for that. So as you see, it's very little effort. I could do this one-handed with the paddle, you really, it's very easy to do.
One-fingered, you mean?
One-
You're already on one
yeah.
hand.
Y'all, she don't let me get away with anything. But you
Well,
were
I
probably
do.
thinking it too.
No, I do, because I don't want to be ugly on film. Sometimes I keep it to myself.
Okay.
We're coming up on this other corner, as you see.
Yeah, and
We're
so
almost done.
the last corner, which is the one we're getting ready to come up on, we are going to do a little differently. I mean, we're going to finish it the same way, but I'll show you what we're going to do. So I don't know how much time we're in.
We're in 33 minutes and 40 seconds.
Okay, so literally in 40 minutes
We'll have this
we've done.
bound.
Yeah.
Binded. Bound or binded or whatever. It'll be completed. And that's the best part. And then we get to show you what this quilt really looks like. So we didn't show it from the beginning. We just showed the little Mickey heads. So
Oh, okay. So that'll be a nice surprise.
this particular panel I made in my past to give to a bride and groom who were crazy about Disney, and they had just gotten married, so this was the perfect quilt.
Push, and then it finishes the stitch. Cut it off. Cut my little thread tails off of here.
Not cutting the knot.
Yeah. And like I said, it's going to get covered, but I just don't like it because if I don't cut those off, inevitably they'll end up showing up somehow on the back of there. So now here we are. Let me just push this way. So here's where we started. Here's my 2 threads, and I will bury those right now so they don't get in my way any kind of way. So I'm going to tie a knot in this, and I'm going to put my
Self-threading needle.
in the knot, and I'm going to ride the knot down to the fabric, and then I'm going to pop it into the self-threading needle and just go right in here and kind of go up through the binding a little bit and out and pull, and then we'll hear that pop back in there.
The knot goes inside, and then you can cut your threads.
Yeah. And then,
Give it a little scratchy scratch.
yeah, give it a little scratchy scratch so it disappears. Okay, so remember that this part is not attached yet. This is like 6 inches or so, okay? So we're gonna just put it back where it belongs so I can show you something. So this is where I start. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and form my last corner, okay? Just like I did all the other corners. Boy, it really makes a difference if you have your quilt serged. I really like to have my quilt serged before my binding. I'm going to,
But this is good. You show, because a lot of people don't have,
Have
sergers,
sergers.
or don't want to take the time to do the zigzag
Yeah.
stitch all around their quilt. So
Yeah.
this is very doable
without having a serger. Okay, so I formed my corner. I came down through here. You can use more clips if you like. I came down through here. And what I'm gonna do is overlap where these 2 quilts are coming together. So I'm gonna open this up and come on top of my existing binding that's just laying there. I'm gonna come on top of that. Now right here's the edge underneath. I'm gonna take my measuring gauge, and I'm gonna take and do a 1/2 inch. So I'm gonna mark this one that's on the top. I'm gonna mark it at a 1/2 inch, which, let's see, I got a red pen here. Let's see if it'll show up. I don't know. No. So it's literally on the edge of this black stripe. So I'm gonna take my scissors and I'm gonna just cut where that line is a little bit to the left, about the size of my blade here. Okay?
Your scissors.
Yeah, the blade of my scissor. Okay, so in other words, it overlapped by 1/2 inch. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna change our machine to a straight stitch. So I'm just gonna hit this right here. It's on a straight stitch. Now, we've got our top coming down, and we've got the bottom going up, right? So we're gonna put our thumbs in here and make the spines meet, okay? And we're gonna open this up. Okay, I'm gonna take my Taylor Seville long pink pins here, and I'm gonna push it in, and then kind of weave it through to hold it still. You can use whatever you want, but this is what works for me. So what I'm trying to do is keep these edges together and straight. Okay, so now I'm gonna just pull my quilt so this part doesn't pull out. And I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna stitch this at 1/4 inch. Okay, and I backed up at the beginning and end. Okay, now here's my quilt again. If you just open it back up, you'll see that these are gonna meet. So we're gonna open this seam, just kind of finger press it, bend it down like it would have been if it were just, see here, like that. Bend this one up, kind of finger press it, scratch it, and make it, you know,
Make it
folded.
just like
if that seam wasn't there. And now we can take this and match up the rest of this quilt. Just like so. Now, where this is, just make sure it's folded in.
you can
You
feel
can
it.
you can pull on your quilt to make it, and honestly, you can't even tell where it's joined. Okay? So, don't forget to change your stitch back, because if you don't, you're
You'll be
just gonna
ripping stitches.
yeah, you're gonna run a straight stitch right through your binding. So we're gonna put this scrolly looking thing here. That's quilts. We're gonna push quilt, and then we're gonna go down to number 20. And there's my settings preset
That
for me.
will-
That's set on my
Saved
favorite
settings.
stitch.
I shouldn't say preset. It's preset to something else, but then we change it to those settings.
So I'm gonna push this in here. I'm going to needle down, needle up, all while I'm holding this quilt really still. I'm going to reach in and grab my bottom thread, push my needle down, pull my strings to the side so they don't get in the way at all. Gonna make my paddle hold those for me, and I'm just gonna start sewing. Now, I didn't use the hump jumper on this one, and it did just fine.
It's not a very thick quilt, that's why.
Yeah. It's just 2 cotton layers and cotton batting in between. A lot of times I like to use flannel on the backs of my quilts, but I didn't for this one. So we're just gonna come down here, and the way we stopped on the corners, that's how I'm gonna try to stop at the join, so that I meet up with these beginning stitches. It's not always perfect, but
But
it's,
done is better than perfect.
yes, exactly.
That's our motto.
So as you can see, I use my fingers to keep the binding down. Some bindings stretch more than others, and so when you're doing that initial clip of the 1/2 inch, if you want, you can do it a little less, you know, a little bit more left. I need to push my button and see if we can. I think I got a pucker in there.
Because this binding kind of stretches a little.
So I did do a pretty daggone good join there,
Yep,
okay?
perfect.
So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna cut these 2 threads off where I snipped this. I can't grab it. There we go. And I do believe we have a bound quilt, except for
You gotta bury
we've
your
got to bury the
threads.
threads. So in
Let's
four
do that.
in 4 moves, I'll have this quilt done. So
We're at 44 minutes, so
I'm gonna.
that's with stopping and talking and so.
So
it's
I'm gonna
very-
make the knot. I'm gonna put my self threader in the knot and get the knot onto my needle. And I'm gonna ride it down to the fabric and pull it out. And then I'll pull this taut between this finger and this. I'm gonna make it taut. And then I'm gonna snap it into my self threader. And then I'll just push this through the binding a little bit. Pull it out. Oh, I lost one of them, so I will have to push this in and do it again. So no big deal, real life sewing, that's what happens. So then I'll just have these to cut off.
Just pull them.
Just pull it taut, snip it, and it'll bounce back down into the,
scratchy scratch.
a little scratchy scratch, and if it's sticking up, then it'll go back down. Here, we'll do it again. You got your 2 threads. Make a knot. Ride the knot down to the fabric. Stick it in your self-threader. Run it up through your binding a little bit. Don't do it towards the whole back, just the top layer. Pull it through. Snip it off. And
Give a little scratchy
get a little scratchy scratch, and you got that one done. So, let's see. This, I don't know why this keeps picking up. I must have a bunch of thread on my apron. Here we go again. We're gonna pull it. Now, I said there's other ways to do these corners. If you want, you can have a leader and then run your first few stitches onto a leader and then go on to the corner.
And I suggest you make that leader out of binding, old binding strip. That way it's the same thickness.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't get this. Now this one, I started a little further down but it's all good. And we got what, one more corner?
Yep.
Let's see. So, this won't win any competitions, but we're not doing that, so,
We don't believe in quilt police.
yeah. All right, so we're gonna just thread this last one up through. Okay. All done. We'll carry this over and put it on the board. And let's see.
It is so
Let's
cute.
see what we got here.
Love
I'm
it,
so
love it, love
excited.
it.
All right, here we go. Ta-da. All right.
Aw, so cute. Look at this quilt, you guys. Do you guys love it?
Oh my gosh, I got lots of threads to pick off. But there you
Isn't
have
it so
it.
cute?
Let
Now,
us know
if this helped
in
you.
the comments if this helped you, if you like this method, if you're going to tell all your friends. Please share with your quilting friends our YouTube channel and help us get this channel going. So we
I'm going to
appreciate
zoom in and show you the binding that's done.
we appreciate everybody who joined us, and we will post this even when it's not live. You can use twins15 for a discount code at classycreations.com and get your binding and quilting paddles, quilt/binding paddles, bind/quilting paddles, whatever you want to call them. They're for binding and quilting.
Yes.
So,
And we will make a video using them while we're quilting at
Yes.
some point and show you how wonderful they are.
Yeah.
So we're going to sign off and welcome you to watch any other videos on our channel.
Yes.
And
I'm G, and that's Sherry behind the camera.
we're Woo
And
Make Creations.
Woo
And
Make
we're-
Creations.
Get that
And
card, Shel.
can we get the card? And we appreciate each and every one of our subscribers.
If you should
And-
need any help.
No messenger.
We don't do
Oh.
Facebook Messenger, but you can contact us at these numbers or emails, and we will be glad to help you and answer questions. So we're going to sign off saying peace out, y'all.
And have a great day.
Yes.
If we know how to sign off. Nope. I hit the X up there, I suppose.
I hope.
Yeah, are you sure you want to stop streaming? Yes.